Hey, how's it going? David here. It's Friday, so what does that mean? It's Financial Fridays. And this is an article I read about a week ago about how 70% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck. And I figure I'd just go through, since I'm a millennial and I get crap all the time how our generation is like the worst and lazy and all this stuff. And I figured I'd just go through this article with you and give you my thoughts as a millennial and someone that actually owns a business and has owned a business for 13 years. And then, yeah. So here's the article um, by Business Insider. 70% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck more than any other generation. And it kind of goes through little like blurbs here. Millennials are a precarious life stage, hitting expensive life milestones, but not yet peak earnings. They also had many economic challenges. So the article says, it goes on to say things like that millennials had to go through many different like turmoils going on in the economy. So we had the '08 crash, and that actually turned off a lot of people because they were either, if you're a millennial, you're either still like living at home or just got out and you're living on your own during like the '08 crash. And that turned off a lot of people from buying a house. And they're like, whoa, I saw what happened to my parents. Or maybe my brother was a millennial and he bought a house in, I think, '04. And then he had to like short sale his house, which means you're it's worth basically, I think he paid like 400, and at its lowest he sold it back to the bank or whatever for like 240,000 or something like that. um, he pretty much got like, I can't remember if he foreclosed or short sold, but he is a millennial. And you know what happened after that? You know what he said? I am never going to buy a house again, ever, because it's such a bad experience for people. But then again, I'm a millennial, but I had the exact opposite. See, what happened was when the crash happened, I go, it's really low. I should buy a house. And so I bought a house in '08 or '09, somewhere around there, and pretty much at almost the lowest. And then I was in it for like a number of years, like 5 years, and sold it at a profit. So both millennials, both different things. And then on top of that, now we have to deal with the pandemic and people losing their jobs and all things like that. So I agree with this article where it's saying things like that. Um, they said they did a survey of 28,000 Americans. I love these surveys. They're always like so small, like compared to how many there are out there. And found that 54% of Americans live paycheck by paycheck, but millennials have the most broke energy. So 54% of all Americans in the survey were living paycheck to paycheck. 40% of baby boomers and seniors were living paycheck to paycheck, the least of any generation. Well, duh, because they've had their whole life to build up, a good job and a good retirement and all that stuff. And then 70% of millennials. Millennials in this, for this sake, is people 25 to 40, so it's a pretty big gap. So like someone who's 25, yeah, living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, you just got out of college or you just started living on your own. Yeah, you're probably living paycheck to paycheck. I definitely was. And then 40, such a huge difference. So this is like, that's like kind of, this article is like 70%. Well, how many of these 28,000 Americans, how many were millennials? Let's say like 15,000 were millennials. Well, how many of those millennials were on the lower end? How many were at the 25 to 27-year-olds versus how many were at the 35 to 40-year-olds, something like that. But one thing they do mention down here, okay, this is where they go through the recession and whatnot. Right here. It's left even six-figure earning millennials struggle to get by. The survey found that 60% of millennials ranking in over 100K a year said they're living paycheck to paycheck. So this is kind of like what I want to talk about. So basically it's saying that of the survey, 60% of those millennials that they interviewed or whatever were making over $100,000 a year. And that's like, and they're barely getting by living paycheck to paycheck. And many times my generation gets like, oh, we're lazy, we're this, all that kind of stuff. It just really depends on the person. You can't just lump a generation because look at me. I'm nothing like the typical millennial. But I will say I found that millennials are having kids not as much as the previous generation. We kind of all knew that. But what they're doing instead, they have this money, is they're in like the social media game where it's all FOMO. Like, look at social media. All social media is just pretty much like, hey, look at me and what I have, right? And so it's like FOMO, it's like, so people want to travel more, all this kind of stuff. And I found that very apparent in my generation. They're more into, hey, look at like this nice car I have, even though I can't afford it. Yeah, I have tons of friends. We're all millennials. Tons of friends that literally will spend more on their car payment than they will on their rent. It is insane to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, I get it. I'm not a car person, but I don't know why you'll be paying rent for like $600 a month, rent out a room or something like that, and then your car payment's like $900. Like, that to me, I'm like, you're barely in your car. You drive it to work and back. That's about it for the day. And then maybe on the weekends down somewhere. A lot of people just Uber because they're probably out drinking. So they're just Ubering. So it's like, why spend so much on a car? And then on top of that, it's like, I have a lot of friends that will have this go on vacations constantly. Like right now, my friends are in Greece. They wanted me to come with them. And instead, I decided to stay home so I could make videos on YouTube. Why do I make videos on YouTube? Well, I'm trying to build up a brand. I'm trying to build up myself, also bring in extra money. So I'm here working instead of going on vacations. And it kind of bums me out that all my friends are going on vacations. I don't. But I look at like, what's the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of doing all this? It's like, yeah, I could go out and just get wasted every weekend, which I did for a long time. But in the end, it didn't really get me anything. And so now I'm trying to build up because I have goals in my life. And the goals, my personal goals, will not get met if I'm just partying and going on vacation all the time. And it's not just the money of going on vacation, right? It's the time lost, right? It's the time gone where I'm not working on my business or I'm not, building something else like this YouTube channel or my music. So I do agree with that. A lot of millennials will make a lot of money and they won't have families. Like previous generations would have families. So now they just bloat on vacations, constantly vacations, cars, toys, whatever. Not anything that helps with their future, which is funny enough. I have a lot of friends that make a lot of money and they don't even own a house at all. And they live in a tiny little apartment because they blow their money every weekend on partying. And they technically are living paycheck to paycheck, right? Because they blow all their money even though they have a lot of money. And so, yeah, I see that a lot. I see that my generation is definitely like that more than previous generations. I read an article the other day about how millennials are like 35% more than any previous generation, more wanting turnkey. So this means compared to like a baby boomer, most baby boomers would move into a house. Turnkey, basically, if you don't know, turnkey means that everything's redone, right? It's not a new house, but everything's redone. It could be a brand new house, but previous generations, they were more handy. So they would just like, oh, what, the kitchen needs a remodel? I'll remodel myself. Or it's like, I don't care that I'm moving into an outdated kitchen. But millennials are way more likely to want a turnkey house. And you have to pay for that. And that costs a lot more. And, that's how pretty much all my brothers are. They all wanted turnkey. I'm the exact opposite, though. I want a fixer-upper because I know in the end, yeah, it sucks that you have to live in something that maybe is not turnkey. And then it's going to cost time and money to fix it up. But in the end, it's worth it because my goal is like, I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, look, we could buy this house that's pretty much turnkey. Or we could get this one that's a fixer-upper. And if we get the turnkey house, and let's say the market goes up 10% in the next 3 to 5 years when we plan on selling, when we go to upgrade, we will our house will have gone up in 3 to 5 years, gone up 10%, but the house that we want will have also gone up 10%. So we're basically breaking even, right? So we have to get a house that we can do a fixer-upper on, and then all the other houses around will go up 10% in 3 to 5 years, but our house will have gone up like 20%. So that means now we're ahead. So now we can jump into a better house. So yeah, that's the thing. They call it down here. What do they call it? They call it the lifestyle creep, which is, of course, the economy is not fully blamed. Some millennials, particularly the six-figure owners, are also fall victim to the lifestyle creep, which is increases one's standard of living to match the raise and basically income. It makes it more difficult to save and all that kind of stuff. So basically, it's like they get a raise, and what are they going to do with the raise? They're going to buy a car. They're going to go out more. And I always said that when you get a raise, this is my philosophy, take a third of it, put it in a savings. Take another third of it, put it into your housing. So if you plan on moving to something better, that goes to your housing. And then take the other third and then put it in, your spending money so you don't overspend. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on this article. I think, like I said, it's like of these people who are living paycheck to paycheck, it's like how many of these are actually younger millennials versus older? That's a huge difference. And if you are a millennial, like, what do you think of this article? Does this kind of, fit your description? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Like I said, I have a lot of millennial friends, and a lot of them technically are living paycheck to paycheck. But it's not because they don't make enough money. It is because they spend it on things they don't need to, because they want to have fun. And our generation is waiting longer to get married, so that means more money to spend on fun. And that's how they choose to live their life. I am not that way, and I know other millennials that aren't that way either. So, all right, have a good weekend, and yeah, have a good Friday.